When making this video, I decided that if I'm going to talk about any characters that have spanned multiple mediums, I have to pick one specific version. So, I won't just be like Batman, since that's way too broad. I will automatically break the rule I have just established by remarking how awesome Spawn's design and comics are, particularly those original Todd McFarlane designs. I think Spawn may just be the coolest looking superhero. He's got it all. Dark, ominous figure with a cape that seems to comprise most of his costume. I mean, just look at it. More specifically though, the version of Spawn I love the most is the 1990s animated series from HBO version. This show is very underrated from a network that ushered in a new era of more adult-oriented and thought-provoking shows on TV. Keith David is a huge part of this. I mean, he just gives this perfect balance of sympathy and fearsomeness in his whole performance.
You're about 2 seconds from wearing that smile around your ass.
He's just a good performer overall with, quite frankly, an awesome voice. It's really the combination of these lines, the threat, and this final scene here.
Who made you God, little man? Not that gun, not that uniform, nothing. You want to scare people, fine. I need a scarecrow. You're gonna be my personal message board. I want everyone to see what happens when they come here uninvited. I pledge everything I own, everything I have left, my heart included. I want my humanity back.
That summarize that perfect balance I'm talking about, and that might be a little bit of a pattern that I enjoy in my anti-heroes. My current knowledge of Spawn doesn't really expand beyond this show, I admit. My only other experience are a few parts of the early comics I read and the not-so-great movie from the 90s, so I knew he couldn't make it any higher on this list, but he made such a huge impression with that series that I knew I had to put him on here. It just didn't feel right otherwise. I really like Max Payne. Sometimes when considering characters for this list, I had to figure out if I liked the character enough specifically, or was it just the piece of media that they were a part of that I liked more. I think enjoying the whole dark, noir, and slightly meta vibes of the Max Payne games does strike the right chord with me, but I really like various noir that are inspired by things like this, and Max, it just seems great for that overall. And most of it is really down to his dialogue and his delivery with those monologues within those comic book cutscenes in the games.
Vinny Gagné was running scared. He could run, but with a bullet in his stomach like a broken bottle of Tabasco, he was quickly running out of time. He knew where his boss was, and I wanted to square things up with Jack Lupino. Gagné would be moving fast. I don't know about angels, but it's fear that gives men wings.
So with Max, it's more of a style and presentation over the story, I guess, that wins me over, but I do really like the character. Plus, I'm always a sucker for a solid revenge narrative anyway. There's definitely some depth to his character, but he's very easy to grasp onto. As much as I like him though, he's still pretty low on the list since, other than the basic renegade cop thing, he doesn't have much morally gray or darker shades of action compared to some other characters. Of the brooding noir types though, he's probably the one that I find the most fun at the moment. Ah yes, Guts. Specifically the 1997 anime version of the character, which was my introduction to the whole series. Guts is kind of like Max in that, although he does some questionable things, he's also just part of a very dark world filled with evil that just seems to fill about every corner of it. The concept or idea of evil is essentially a force of nature that is near indestructible and seems to be embedded in the very core of the story in a metaphorical and literal way. Now, this is more of an abstract thing in the arc of the series, but it's expanded on much more literally in the manga. Guts himself is born into a world of war and survives by being, well, the best warrior he can be. Really, I found Guts more tragic than anything else. One could make the argument that Guts doesn't really do anything too morally reprehensible in the series, but there is a very memorable action he takes that goes beyond the honor of battle and leans into an underhanded assassination that I recall the most, and that's basically murder for political gain. Guts has the huge anime sword and fights off armies and monsters, but I can't forget how willing he is to compromise a great many things out of loyalty to his leader and friend Griffith. Beyond that, he doesn't really seem like the nicest guy, but he is introduced saving villagers from bandits in the anime, so he's still heroic enough in the traditional sense, so it works for me.
let you live so you can take a message to your master for me. Tell him the Black Swordsman has come. What?
Magneto from the 1992 animated X-Men series. Look, this version of Magneto was the first one I was introduced to and is primarily here for this scene.
You've lost, Xavier. Admit it. Peace between mutants and normal humans is only a dream. Your foolish dream. If you try to rescue Kelly, you'll be throwing your lives away for nothing.
Well, is he right?
You're all fools. Heroic fools. The brave are always the first to die.
That is so good. I'm partially kidding. But honestly, this version of Magneto is probably my earliest introduction to the concept of an anti-hero. Magneto is the bad guy, and yet I like him? He's the bad guy, but I kind of understand where he's coming from. I can sympathize with him. Sympathy is a key word in this video. Part of me wants him to win because he's not entirely wrong. Some complex ideas to introduce to kids. I wonder if anyone else knows about this show. Going in a completely different direction, we have Michael Corleone from the Godfather trilogy, especially the first two films, although I do like The Godfather Part 3, but we won't go there for now. Michael is here partially because I think The Godfather is one of the greatest cinematic masterpieces of all time, of course. But also, I can't really think of a transformation of a character in film that is executed as smoothly, as naturally, but with still having such a great operatic beauty to his whole arc. He starts off a little understated, an everyman under the radar. He's a war hero, but not a show-off or anything. He's ultimately pulled into this world that he distanced himself from due to his love and sense of loyalty to his family that, pulls him back in. Insert clip here.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
How many of us have often been tempted to do things we wouldn't to protect our loved ones? The most impressive thing for me is how I'm on Michael's side the whole movie. And it's such a seamless transition to where I'm not, and even then I'm kind of conflicted on how I feel, but I'm still really intrigued by the character the whole time. I mean, him taking out Salazzo and McCluskey has him as an underdog, and by the end of the first movie, he's taking out all his enemies with cold efficiency and detachment. I feel like they used that in Dune Messiah, or did they get this from Dune Messiah? I'm not sure who inspired who. He's so calculating, and that scene is such a fist-pumping moment that it's not really up until the end that it hits you how much he's really changed. I'm not going to go into part 2 too much. Pun absolutely intended. Since I don't want this video to run super long, probably too late, but his further degeneration into someone whose wife fears and probably hates him a little, and we the audience might too at this point, that's on another level. That scene with him and Kay, towards the end of the second movie, with her big reveal of what happened, it's probably the hardest to watch for me in the whole trilogy. Especially now that I'm older. I think it has just more weight. So, yeah, Michael is greatly written and portrayed as a character. And I like a good mafia tale, after all. Frank Castle, aka the Punisher from Marvel's Daredevil and the Punisher series, produced by Netflix specifically. If someone had asked me years ago to make this list, I would not have considered any version of the Punisher. Now don't get me wrong, I don't hate the character, but I never felt drawn to his stories based on his interactions with other characters in the comics. As my friend James has mentioned, it might have something to do with him being a total jerk to Spider-Man in the 90s series, and also in his first introduction to the comics being somebody who tried to kill Spider-Man. And since Spider-Man was probably one of my favorite superheroes, maybe subconsciously there was a bit of resistance there, or maybe I just didn't like his personality. I don't know. In any case, I think that probably tells you how much of an impact this version had for him to come on this semi-official list, if you will. That performance is so good, specifically the interplay on the roof with Matt Murdock about the lines being pushed in vigilante crime fighting that nerds have been debating, in a less heated way I hope, for decades.
Fair enough. I'm just saying, I know it can be hard.
Do you? know it can be hard. You run around the city in a pair of little boys' pajamas and a mask. You go home at night, right? Take that mask off. Maybe you think it wasn't you who did those things. Maybe it was somebody else. But see, soldiers, we don't wear masks, yeah? We don't get that privilege.
He's got the tragedy and the brutality, especially in his own series. And, well, that's pretty much all I have to say about Frank. Relatable, gritty, some good revenge stuff in there with some layers and a little bit of humor. The portrayal that got me to love a version of the Punisher. Hats off to everyone on that project. You made me kind of a Punisher fan. Pivoting a little bit, we've got Vegeta. The Prince of all Saiyans, once again. Sorry. You know, I really didn't want to put him on this list because I thought the other characters in the queue would beat him for one reason or another, but no. Vegeta was literally the first character I thought of when I started composing this list, and he never left. With good reason too. He is iconic. My feelings about Vegeta have changed a bit since watching Dragon Ball Z back when I was a kid. Still, while Magneto was the first character I truly sympathized with, Vegeta was the first time I can remember liking, no, really loving a villain.
Oh, is that a fact? Then why were you so surprised when Kakarot turned into a Super Saiyan? I'll tell you why. Because your database doesn't cover the battles we had in space. Your bonehead creator picked a fine chapter to omit from your memory banks. That's right, my friend. Let me ask you, does a machine like yourself ever experience fear?
I truly enjoyed watching him just as much, if not more so, in the cases of some heroes. He was such a great villain in his introduction, and simply watching him try to do his own thing on Namek was enjoyable, not just as a threat to our heroes in the story context, but because I kind of wanted him to succeed against Frieza's minions. Also, he's kind of got this little, story arc thing. It takes a long time to get there, and it could be argued it's not the best villainous redemption story, maybe another side video at some point. But much like many things in Dragon Ball, as I've said many times before, the characters, the world, and the ideas are big. Vegeta is going for operatic, bombastic, and truly grand over-the-top stuff. He owns it, and the show doesn't do subtle, really, so it embraces things to be as grandiose as possible. What I think it does more than his greatness as a villain to follow, or even his eventual redemptive arc, really is his internal struggle. That rivalry with Goku, and how much it drives his own personal growth and also kind of drives him to make flawed decisions, is really key to his character for me. This is in no small part to Chris Sabat's various performances, and Brian Drummond as well.
But he was a brilliant scientist!
His anger, annoyance, sly calculations, huge monologues, and cheesy one-liners from the original Funimation dub are just so fun, and he really set the gold standard, much like many other things in Dragon Ball, for how to portray characters and create great chemistry in those shonen battle rivalries. Oh, another anime. I wonder if anybody here on this channel has heard of this one, Scar, specifically from the 2003 anime, though I'll include Brotherhood a bit in this as well. It's a nice step up from the Vegetas of anime to something a little more complex and enjoyable for very different reasons.
This time I have an attack made just for you!
Scar has a special place on this list since it was in conversation about the character that led to this video being made. So, did Scar deserve to be on it? Once again, I looked at some of my runner-ups and thought about kicking him off, and then quickly discarded that idea. Scar is here to stay. I've seen few characters truly balance this incredible menace with a strong sense of righteousness.
I know your secret, and without this sinful arm you can't transmute quickly. That is your weakness.
Scar is probably helped by his earliest appearances in the anime, accompanied by an awesome theme of music. Scar was a truly scary threat and serves as a great antagonist early on due to how threatening he really is. He's an imposing figure. I mean, he basically just explodes people's heads as his MO.
Finally, the Ironblood Alchemist, Boss Braun.
Your timing's too bad. Just as I got my hands on this. Get away!
This doesn't last long, as he becomes more sympathetic the more we learn about what happened to his people. It turns out that the government and the military's actions of one nation weren't so great to the Ishvalans. His people nearly being wiped out has real-world parallels that make reasons for these terroristic actions all the more poignant to audiences. It's a chilling reminder of the complex web that fuels hate on all sides of a military conflict. I've talked a great deal about the dynamic greatness of FMA on my channel, so feel free to look for other videos on the subject. Of the various anime characters I've come across, few have that wonderful sense of balance between being sympathetic and, well, scary. He's yet another reason why the vast cast of characters in the series are a reason to check out FMA, specifically 2003. Ah, the last two. These were the hardest, mostly because it comes down to what you want, and I had a hard time figuring out how I wanted to view the ultimate anti-hero, to be honest. Then again, I should remind myself not to worry about this being a definitive list. I mean, it's just characters that resonate with me personally, so it reflects my tastes and perhaps aspects of my personality. So, is Joe a secret vigilante? And I'm sure I'm not alone in my tastes. Alright everybody, get ready to type in the comments. Number 2 is Batman. Remember that foreshadowing? But not just any Batman. The version I am referring to is Frank Miller's influential Dark Knight Returns version. The truth is, when I think of anti-hero, particularly a dark anti-hero from superhero comics, this is the version I come back to the most, as sort of a default template. He's a little bit edgy, and something of a force of nature, but still just a little silly, reminding the audience that this is in fact a comic book still, where, as serious as things can be, and I definitely approve of that in comics, we don't have to take things too seriously, do we? This version is awesome in a stripped down, yet silly power fantasy that may have something to say with it. Plus, it really helped revolutionize how seriously we take comic book characters and use them to tackle serious issues, even if some of it is actually a little bit corny in retrospect. That's also why I like it.
You finished, old man! You don't get it, son. This isn't a mud hole. It's an operating table. And I'm the surgeon.
And last, but not least, is a character that you could never have imagined would be possible. And honestly, it really was just a coin toss with Frank Miller's Batman. It kind of comes down just to what my mood would be, and proving how wide the scope of the anti-hero umbrella truly goes. After all, what list like this couldn't include Tony?
Are you in the Mafia?
Am I in the what?
Whatever you want to call it. Organized crime.
That's total crap. Who told you that?
Dad, I've lived in the house all my life. I've seen police come with warrants. I've seen you going out at 3 in the morning.
So you never seen Doc Cusimano go out at 3 in the morning on a call?
Did the Cusimano kids ever find $50,000 in Krugerrands and a .45 automatic while they were hunting for Easter eggs?
I'm in the waste management business. Everybody immediately assumes you're mobbed up. It's a stereotype, and it's offensive. And you're the last person I would want to perpetuate it.
Fine.
There is no mafia. All right, look. Med, you're a grown woman. Almost. Some of my money comes from illegal gambling and whatnot.
Then everyone clicked off the video, their curiosity satisfied. That is, if I managed to be intrigued and entertaining up to this point. Thank you. Thank you. Now really, I don't plan to add much here, as I think this isn't a very wild take at all. And again, one of those so widely agreed upon ideas that it's kind of almost bordering on redundant and perhaps just really difficult to add much to anything radically new in the discourse. Tony Soprano is such a richly defined character and has been examined so well, I think this choice rather speaks for itself. Is this a cop-out, Joe? I love The Sopranos. I'd say it's probably my favorite series. So I don't think it would be wild to suggest that Tony would be my favorite anti-hero. If any of you would like me to go into further depth exploring any of these characters, let me know. Who are some of your favorite anti-heroes and why? Please join in the conversation below. Oh, and if you liked what you watched, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Please help the channel grow and the algorithm and all that good stuff. Alright everybody, have a nice day.